Hi everyone, it's Victor speaking, and thank you very much for joining me today. I am here with Tsveti, who was one of my students actually last year. She took part in the apprenticeship course, and actually she was one of the winners. So we had quite few students taking an exam with me and Lada, and then Lada had the responsibility to actually choose who she wants to work with, and Tsveti is one of the lucky one. And we decided to do a talk on the sun sign, and because sun is a very important planet in the chart, and I believe it's pretty much forgotten its importance. Sun talks about apart from the fact that it talks about your vitality and it talks about your vocation and your father figure, but it is also talking about what you have signed up to do in this lifetime, what your life purpose, what your soul mission is. And actually, the sun's aspect will show also of who you need to become in this lifetime. What's your calling? What's your inner identity? Where you should be striving towards to, where you should be heading in this lifetime. You know, what makes your heart sing, basically. Sun represents the heart. And I've noticed that at the beginning of our lives, we tend to be living the opposite sign from the sun. But it is also forgotten that astrology is all about polarity. If you've got, let's say, an Aquarius sun, yes, you need to learn about independency. You need to become a reformer, but you need to learn that through the Leo energies as well, which is the opposite sign. Um, in many cases, I believe sun is mistaken to your characteristics. But actually, the rising sign and the moon sign are going to be showing more of your characteristics. You tend to be living those qualities, especially at the beginning of your life. And then at the second part, when sun becomes more mature, which happens around the age of 33, actually, that's when you start picking up on those sun traits. By the way, just a quick announcement. I am holding an advanced class on perfection. Um, you might have seen my previous webinar I had on that last year, and I believe it has become very popular since. And now I'm coming up with the second part of it, which is actually going to be showing you how to do daily and monthly and weekly perfection. Perfection is basically about it's a timing technique, which comes from the 2nd century. And it shows you what area of life is going to become the most important one from birthday to birthday. So it covers usually a whole year. And also I'm going to be holding an 8-week masterclass on aspects, where I'm going to be teaching you all the major aspects, all the minor aspects possible, and then how to interpret those, how to work with those energies. So you will be able to find the links below if you are interested. There is also a little discount for the early birds. So thank you very much, Tsveti, for joining me today. How are you doing?
Hi, Victor. Hi, everyone. I'm doing great. Thank you. So excited about this talk. I think it's going to be really interesting because the sun, it's like not so much discussed, but still it has a lot of things which are very interesting related to it. And yeah, I think there's lots to say. So let's see how it goes.
So how we will structure today's talk is we're going to be having a look at different aspects with different planets to the sun. For instance, each of the configuration with the sun and the different planet is going to tell you why you were born onto Earth. I pretty much recommend to have a look at the closest aspect to your sun. So let's say if you've got your sun on 16 degree of Virgo, and then you've got an opposition on 16 degree of Pisces, then that's going to be one of your life theme. Obviously, the easy aspects, such as sextile and trine, are going to be showing an easy flow, something which helps you to to fulfill your destiny. And the squares, the oppositions, and the conjunctions might be a little bit harder. You might be experiencing a little bit more difficulties at the beginning of your life. But if you are very conscious about achieving the goal you have ahead of you, I think you can overcome that. So firstly, we're going to start with the outer planets because they tend to be a little bit less frequent. So how do you feel about, for instance, Sun and Pluto aspect, Tsveti?
Well, yeah. Regarding Sun and Pluto, I think that these are people who are like very introverted, but they have lots of willpower and they can use it for themselves. They are very structured in a way, and they are very well aware of what they want, and they're very pushing.
Yeah,
I think that it's very difficult for people who have Sun and Pluto aspect, a hard aspect, I mean, to somehow harness this energy, because Pluto means lots of energy, lots of psychic powers sometimes. So which might be um, maybe making the person feel the energies around, because it's a collective planet. And when we talk about Pluto, it's aggression. It's sometimes not so pleasant to feel
yeah.
around. And I believe that if someone with such an aspect has not integrated this power within themselves, they will be meeting it from the outside. So they will feel the anger of the collective. So it's really important for these people to know, to realize that this energy, it's not theirs, but they're like cleaners.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think it's a very difficult but aspect, but it has a great potential, because Pluto is also potential. It shows great potential for personal growth and for rebirth. So anytime you might be falling hard, but you will get up at the end.
I
So this is,
completely
yeah.
agree. I think Sun and Pluto connection in the chart could be called as the transformer. And you know, the native might be feeling at the mercy of others at the beginning of their lives, but they really need to learn how to gain their power back. You know, at the beginning of their lives, maybe it's all about shame and embarrassment to them. Um, and it's so important to bring their fears out to light and actually not caring about them anymore. Being able to say that, yes, I was wrong, being able to say that I lost my power, but I want it back. Because if you don't care about any of those, you know, shame and embarrassment, it won't affect you anymore. If you really think about what Sun and Pluto are, Sun is basically the light and Pluto is the darkness. We can also call Sun as the heaven and Pluto as the underworld. So we've got these huge polarities going on here. And when you've got the hard aspects, such as a square, which is going to be talking about um, frictions, or when we talk about an opposition, which talks about being able to learn the differences and appreciating the differences with others. So this native is definitely was born to empower others, to completely illuminate taboos, and not allowing others to manipulate them. Probably they might have had struggle with their survival instincts as well at the early stages of their lives. But it's all about turning those negative events into something positive, overcoming those, digging deep, seeing where they came from, and then leaving them in the past, giving them back to the universe. Thank you, I've dealt with it.
Yes, absolutely. And when you say that, it reminds me of this topic of bullying, which is very much discussed these days at schools. And yeah, it's like aggression over children. and adolescence. So I believe that the person with Sun Pluto aspect, the hard one, especially in opposition, they will be meeting this so that they can embrace their power and stand up for themselves. They will be like a catalyst, so to say, in the environment, and yeah, they will be attracting so as to bring to the surface the aggression of other people, because Pluto it's related to Scorpio, and we know that Scorpio they show to the surface what's not good. So yeah, and I have noticed that with oppositions, people tend to attract more from the outside, as from the outside environment, some events, while people who have a square, they somehow accumulate this guilt within themselves, which blocks them. So a person with a square, for example, might not get hurt physically, but might be present to some event, which makes him feel so guilty and disempowered that they might have a hard time getting up and taking their power back to themselves. So, yeah.
You are completely right. I think plenty of people don't know, but Pluto also represents hostages in the chart. So it's like being held as a hostage against your will. And this is very typical for some Pluto people at the beginning of their lives, especially, for instance, in relationships. They might feel that there are two suns in the solar system, but somehow Pluto obviously requires truth and honesty. And that's why people develop trust issues, for instance, trusting their abilities to start with, and then that gets projected onto their relationship, so they won't be able to trust their partners either. And Pluto is like a magnetic force. So I'm going to start attracting those events, what is going on deep within. So that's one of the reasons why Pluto, for instance, rules infidelity in the chart. Maybe you are going to be attracting someone who is going to cheat on you, who is going to betray you in your relationship. In many cases, actually, Sun Pluto could be showing conflicts with the father, because the child might feel betrayed by this hierarchy father figure. And Pluto is really the planet who takes the bullet for you. So if you gain the trust of that person, Pluto is definitely going to be protecting you as much as they can. But once you hurt him, basically, Pluto is never going to forget. They might
Yes.
forgive, but they're never going to forget.
Mm. Yes, this is so true about Pluto. Yes, I absolutely
Also,
agree.
Pluto is all about obsession.
Yes.
And with that opposition, with that square, the question is, why am I obsessed? What am I trying to compensate with that? And in my opinion, usually this is something to do with childhood trauma. Do you have anything else to add to Pluto?
Well, I think we actually covered quite a lot of Pluto's energy, so not really much to add with Pluto.
Great. So maybe let's move on to Uranus then. How do you feel about Uranus and the Sun contact?
Oh, it's my favorite. I love it because it's so much related to astrology. But before bringing you there, it could bring you, yeah, lots of changes, lots of sudden events, lots of unexpected situations, and it can push you to change everything. So you just build something and then you suddenly decide you want something else. And it's really very difficult to work with Uranus energy because it's very hectic, very dynamic, and when it's conjunct the sun, it can actually, yeah, jeopardize your true uh, mission, your goals, long-term goals. So yeah, you have to be really focused because on the positive side, Uranus gives the person lots of objectivity and clear thinking, clear long-term goals, and it gives gives the person the chance to follow the energy of progress, because Uranus is its progress. So at one point, anyone who has Sun Uranus will actually come um, to this progress. And I noticed that people who have hard aspects to Uranus, they might be so much ahead of their time. So they're very not so easily accepted. They have so no innovative ideas, and it's so hard for them um, to tell the public, to convince the public that this is really great what they have in mind. And this is why they are very often rejected, especially with opposition and square. So it's very hard for them. They have to trust themselves that they are right, that they know best, that they have this perfect energy within them. They are objective. This is the truth, and yeah. So I think this is very much about Uranus. They have to trust in their individuality because they are individualities, and yeah, very often rebellious, which can bring them to lots of troubles, especially when they're very young. But yeah, once they manage to harness these energies and to really build this trust within themselves, this rational thinking to make sure they are right. It's only that people are not ready to hear what they have to say. Yeah, I think they will make great progress.
Yeah, I would call the Sun and the Uranus aspect as the reformer, maybe the
Absolutely,
catalysts. You
absolutely.
know, it's all about the native to realize that they are here. They have signed up to give alternative roads to others, being able to see the world from a different angle. Um, Also, Uranus is a shaking up energy. It's the energy of electricity, volcanoes, and all those natural disasters. And what we need to learn from those is that we need to stay as an outsider, and then being able to wake up others. In many cases, when there is a hard aspect, the native might feel at the beginning of their lives that they are not at the right place at the right time. They would even could have some issues, especially with boys and authority figures again. And the reason being is because, as you said, they are so unique. They are so quirky individuals that people don't understand them. They might feel unheard. They might feel um, misunderstood. And if you are a Sun Uranus person, you are definitely a catalyst for change. You might have a completely different and alternative perspective to life. It's all about thinking outside the box, and you are not bound whatsoever by traditions and conventions. It's all about experiment, all about inventing something new. A very strong Uranian person, for instance, I never recommend to work, for instance, for someone. Uranus rules startup companies, for instance. It means that they need to create something. It's like giving birth to something according to their perspective, and and you know, Uranus is the planet of genius ideas. That's the higher octave of Mercury. So those people could be hugely intelligent. They could really have very high IQ as well, but people might not understand them. I usually call them as the groundbreakers or the pioneers.
Yes, they are.
And you know what? When a Sun and Uranus person is at a crossroads, or they have got a major choice to make, I would say that they need to dare to choose, you know, what's right for them. Because I've noticed with Uranus, Sun Uranus people actually that they might be moving around quite a lot. Well, especially that's the case when there is a Uranus and the Moon contact going on in the chart. But after let's say in their second part of their lives, they tend to be getting stuck in one place. And the reason being is because they don't want to experience all those emotional turmoil, what was going on in their childhood. Uranus is the planet of breakups. We just need to accept the fact that we need to be cutting away any type of situation which is blocking your individuality. They could be quite philanthropists as well. Anything which is against the norm, that's very much Uranus. So I would say that if they have to make a choice, then definitely it needs to be spontaneous, because Uranus is the planet of unpredictability. It talks about the edges to your personality, and it's all about excitement. Uranus is never about stability and routines. You always need a new perspective in your life. Yes. Do you have
Yeah.
anything else to add to
Yeah,
Uranus?
I just wanted to add that actually people who have Sun Uranus aspects are very often the black sheep of the family. And this is actually because they came to break some family cycles. And yeah, they're quite objective and they would always put the truth on the table, because Uranus, it's just this planet, it can't keep it down. They just need to say it out loud and yeah, be open and objective about what's going on. Uranus doesn't like secrets. So yeah, um, it could be that in the childhood they were like couldn't fit in, and they need to get over this feeling of not fitting in, and yeah, gaining their trust back. So and whenever they have a hard choice to make, I believe that people with Sun Uranus aspect will have to go against the whole community. Everybody will be telling them they are crazy to do this and that, but they have to do exactly that. What they feel inside is true.
You see, I've seen when I studied management, they showed us a video where um, basically there is this guy who is on the beach and then he stands up to dance to some type of African music, if I'm not mistaken. And everyone looks at him like, who is this idiot? Why is he dancing and jumping around like, there was no tomorrow? And that's such a Uranian energy. Being the pioneer, being the first one who does those silly things. But it's not silly anymore when the second person jumps up and starts dancing as well. And at the end of this little film, actually everyone on the beach was dancing. And basically what the video was intended to tell you is that um, actually, if you are a leader, you need to show by example, and then people start following you. And the hardest job, is for the second person, the first person who stands up and will follow you, if that makes sense. And this is so Uranian energy.
Yes, they are always the first ones to make the hard choices. But it's like I think they maybe don't feel it this way when the choice comes. They just jump in and dive into the energy. They just do it because they feel like it. And then when they look around, they realize it's actually something unique. So yeah, I think it's like the first impulse that comes to them, and they just, yeah, they need to ride the wave. It's like they don't have any other option. They're very yeah, intense sometimes for the people around them. So yeah.
Let's have a look at how the visionary looks like. So how the Sun and the Neptune contact would be working out in your chart.
So Sun and Neptune would be someone very artistic, I believe, but also a very dreamy one and someone very emotional. So I think that people with Sun Neptune aspects will need to be emotionally connected to anything they need to do. Otherwise, they will just give up. They will not be able to continue. So yes, Neptunian energy, it's very strong, and yeah, I don't have the words, it's Neptune. So it's very difficult to put a frame when we talk about Neptune.
Tsveti, can you just pull closer your
Yes,
speaker, your
is it
voice?
better now?
Yeah,
It falls
it's
down all
brilliant.
the
Thank
time,
you.
I'm sorry. So Neptunian energy, it's elusive. It's very difficult to describe, but still these are people who, especially if they have also some aspect with Venus, they can be singers, they can use their voice because Venus rules the vocal cords. And but they somehow they don't like so much to be in the public eye. They like to be hidden, to be somewhere behind. So I think this is something that people with Sun Neptune have to get over, because the Sun wants to shine and Neptune wants to dive in. So it's a little bit difficult to combine those, but as long as they get into the emotion, they forget about everything. So they dived in, and yeah, they bring all this rich emotional world to the public. They can relate emotionally to people easily. They are like an emotional sponge sometimes. They take all the emotions of the collective, uh, and yeah, they they might feel overwhelmed very often, and feeling everybody else's fears, feeling like a victim or the savior. I think that when people with Sun Neptune aspects, they are very much into this triangle of victim, aggressor, and savior. It's like very difficult for them to escape any of these roles. And once they realize um, their deep emotionality is something unique, and they can get in touch with everyone through their emotions, I think they actually touch their true self, and they're in line with their mission.
You said that beautifully because I do believe that Sun and Neptune aspect is, they might have got that motto of that we are all connected, we are all alike.
The unity of
And
all things.
pardon?
Yes. The unity of all things.
Exactly,
It's
the
like, yes.
unity. And I think a Sun and Neptune type of person, they need to be dedicating their life to help others. But very important that they don't lose themselves in the way. They need to make sure that their battery is recharged from time to time, because we need to be serving both planets. And as you said, Neptune likes being in the dark, likes withdrawing sometimes, and Sun wants to shine. So, no matter what the way is, you want to be recharge your batteries. You just need to make sure that you do that. Neptune is the higher octave of Venus, and Venus is the planet of love. So basically, what your mission could be is to offer a vision into a higher cause to people, and basically spread love. By the way, I do believe that Sun and Neptune is very much like a chameleon aspect. They can really change.
Yes.
That's one of the reasons why, for instance, this aspect is very good for actors and actresses, because they can place themselves into other people's shoes. And not to mention, you did mention actually, but yeah, they act like psychic antenna.
Yes.
They are able to pick up on other people's feeling or mood of people and places. And they, without anything basically being said, and therefore any type of spiritual work, for instance, is pretty for them. It's pretty much for them. But you know, Neptune also has got a little bit of a negative connotation, which is all about boundaries.
Yes.
Neptune has got the hardship of maintaining boundaries or adapting to excessive qualities. Neptune is the planet of
Addictions.
fairy tales. Neptune has got issues to say no. So they have to learn in this lifetime how to stop, how to say no. That's one of the reasons why Neptune rules obsession, for instance, in the chart. Anything to do with alcohol, anything to do with
Addiction.
drugs and any type of substances, really.
Yes.
Sun loves to party, and actually Neptune as well. So they need to be able to say no for the people who want to influence them. Neptune can be influenced pretty much. And yes, and I believe that Neptune, which is the planet of escapism, I think there is always a huge desire to escape, um, you know, your path because it might be overbearing for the person.
Yes.
Actually, I don't. I know that the Dalai Lama has got a Sun and the Neptune sextile. Obviously, the sextile one is something which is a lot easier to live with.
Yeah, you can live with
But
them.
when you've got those hard aspects, actually, it might be hard for you to recognize that I am here, I am born to help others. And as I said at the beginning of the video, we tend to be living the opposite sign of our sun at the very early stages of our lives. Obviously, have a look at the qualities of the sign as well. So, for instance, if you've got your sun in Pisces, then obviously this helping hand comes to you naturally. But at the beginning of your life, you might be living your Virgo energies, which is all about systemizing those. Virgo
Yes.
wants to understand everything. And the Sun and Neptune aspect actually recommends that you don't need to understand why, for instance, spirituality is working. Um, and also don't treat that spiritual, intuitive, energetic senses of yours as a doubled edged source.
Yes.
Yeah, and you cannot save everyone. You cannot fix everything. You just can give guidance. Neptune is all about compassionate love and basically showing the right road to others.
Yes, but without taking the responsibility for that, because it's
That's right.
actually very the sun. It takes responsibility, and because it's authority, and Neptune somehow merges these borders, and it's important to differentiate between giving guidance, just like Neptune would give guidance, and taking the responsibility for the person whom you gave guidance to, because yeah, this person came to you for help, so you helped, and they need to take the responsibility for their own choice. You gave advice, so this is very important. um, and also, I was thinking while you were talking about Neptune and Sun, that these people, they have great imagination, so they can be really very good at designing things, writing books if they have a good placed Mercury as well. So yeah, I think sharing any thought they have in mind would be really precious for the collective energy, because they have so many emotions. And I noticed that people with Sun and Neptune conjunction, especially, they feel like they're too emotional for everyone else to bear them, which is actually right the opposite. They are so emotional, they can't handle the emotions themselves, and it's not a problem for the people around them. So once they come to realize that, it becomes much easier. And yes, music can be a great outlet, um, instead of drugs and alcohol. So any other type of art, because yeah, it will be the other side of Neptune. And one more thing I wanted to add regarding boundaries. I noticed that Neptune can actually um, bring you either, make you either a person with too hard boundaries or with too wobble ones. So at the end of the day, we need to learn to be in the middle, to I mean to be able to save ourselves, to have our boundaries, but still let the emotions come in and go out so we can connect. So we are closing in is another side. It's the opposite side of being too open. Yeah, and people who have a Sun Neptune aspect, they could close in because they've been hurt so many times. At the end, they just close in like a crap, you know.
Mhm.
So yeah, they need to leave some space to feel the energies, and yeah, it should be somewhere in the middle. It's very important to be moderate, not to go to extremes when it comes to boundaries and emotions.
You know, Neptune is also the planet of muses.
Oh yeah.
So it just came to my mind that, you know, if you are inspired, then Neptune is going to just give you so much benefits. So with Sun and Neptune people, they always have to find that aspiration in life. And then you know, drugs and any type of obsession they won't need in life because they've got a clear goal in front
Yes.
of them.
And they need to get some rest. It's very important to know that these muses, they come and go, but when they go, they will come back, and you just need to gather your energy back. So yeah, it's not forever. I think that many Sun Neptune people, they would go to drugs or alcohol just to get in touch with this muse again, because they want to feel inspired. They Once you touch this energy, you just crave for it. It's really
Yeah,
great. So yeah, they have to be patient to just regenerate and then get in touch again, not using any substances. And yeah, it's the easy way, but the price is too high, so to say. So yes, because on the other side of Pisces, it's Virgo, so we have to take care of the body as well, so we can channel all this energy. And this is an axis that is, it's an opposition, but we need to integrate both. It's the shadow side, so we need to take care of the body so as to be able to channel all these energies. It's important.
exactly. And you know, even if you just think about what sun is, sun represents your heart. It represents what makes your heart sing. And Neptune is actually all about creativity, singing, and creative talent. So anything to do with singing and dancing and video taking and editing and so forth is just probably gives them a sense of pleasure. I've got Sun in the 12th house. I've been through all of that. But then as soon as I figured out my spiritual path, and for instance, music always calms me down, and not to mention singing. That's why I
Oh yeah.
usually go once a week to do a karaoke night because
Yeah.
then I manage to switch off and then I feel recharged.
Yeah, I believe you. Pisces sun here, so the same. I use the same. It's yeah,
Let's have a
the
look at our wise and old souls.
Saturn.
So Sun in aspect to Saturn.
Okay. So yeah, while Neptune has no boundaries, Saturn has boundaries. And it's wise at one point. It's like mature. Um, Saturn is disciplined, focused, responsible, and yeah, it doesn't allow the sun to have fun.
That's
Because
right.
yeah, sun rules Leo, and what does Leo want? Leo wants to have fun. So uh, in the early ages, when you're smaller, if you have this aspect, it would talk about a very authoritative father, probably, or maybe a missing one. Maybe you didn't have this role in your life. Maybe it was a weak model that you gained, and it made you feel, it made you doubt, um, and yeah, so or maybe you had to take responsibility very early when you were a child, which you couldn't bear, and you weren't able to develop the sun then. So you didn't have any right to have fun. You didn't have the time, the money. There were so many restrictions. Or maybe you had to take care of your brother. If it has a bad aspect to Mercury, for example, a hard aspect, I mean, not a bad one. Hard aspects are the better ones, I think, but because they develop
Mm.
us. But yeah, it gives hardship, so it could be very restrictive, and it's very hard for a child to take responsibility for which they're not ready, and it can be really um, yeah, hard. So at one point, when we integrate this energy, it can give us great discipline, focus. So because Saturn is Capricorn, it could give us, in a way, um, this perseverance to continue doing, to continue to um, not running, to continue slowly, steadily, methodically reaching our long-term goals. So at one point, Saturn will be helping the Sun to achieve the goals. And yes, I think all um, um, professions or activities related to some authority, to showing your authority, to being an example for other people, to serve by example, as you said before. This is a Sun Saturn person, a very disciplined one. And yeah, maybe they have to learn how to take care of themselves. So yeah.
You know, Saturn being the planet of the boundary marker. And what came to my mind is when there is a Sun and Saturn conjunction in the chart. Actually, at the beginning of their life, Saturn might have got issues to see things clearly because Saturn represents the limit of what you see with the naked eye. And Yes, Saturn is one of the first planets, one of the first seven visible planets. So you could actually see that with the naked eye. Well, that was typical actually about 2000 years ago when there was no so much smoke going on. But you know, when there is a sun there which is burning the planet, which is putting the rays on the other planets, Saturn might be having a couple of issues at the beginning to see things clearly, to set those clear boundaries. And another thing which came to my mind with Saturn was the wine, because the older the wine, the better the taste of it. Therefore, what I'm trying to say here is that Saturn is linked to aging, Saturn is linked to wisdom, and most probably that the older you are, uh, probably you're going to be entering the best years of your lives. I would say usually after the age of 40. Um, and yeah, I agree. Most probably at the beginning of their lives, especially with the hard aspects, they might not have taken them seriously. They might have been shy and reserved. They might have had some issues with their fathers. Both of the planets could be an indication of a father actually in the chart. According to Asian studies, Saturn represents the father in a night chart, and Sun would be representing in the day chart. But Saturn is all about hard work. It's a very practical planet. So once you put the efforts into whatever you want to achieve, you are unstoppable. This is a typical leadership combination, really.
Yes, I absolutely agree.
Great. Let's have a look at what happens with our exotic planet, which is all about justice and faith. So,
Jupiter.
what happens with Jupiter in aspect to Sun?
Well, Sun and Jupiter, I think they go well, but it can give an um, over too optimistic nature, so to say, like running after false dreams. Um, and I think that people with Sun Jupiter, they need to make sure that what they run after is really worth it, because Jupiter it has great ideas always. It great long-term goals, and it gives lots of energy. And the sun has energy, so not Sun Jupiter people, they need to put some boundaries on indulgence. They are very self-indulgent, so I think that this might be yeah, causing issues with the body. And yeah, all these philosophies, maybe they need to filter what their philosophy is and not run after anything they hear or read about. And they might be over generous as well, so they might be like spending too much. So they need to be a little bit careful with that. But when it comes to Sun Jupiter, I believe that these people are great motivational speakers, and they're great leaders as well, because they have this power to ignite the flame within everybody else. But they need to truly believe in what they teach and yeah, what they talk about. So yeah, I think that Sun Jupiter people are really they could be even gurus as well. Yeah, and this might be like their mission to show to to present a philosophy to its depth, and to teach it to wider audiences, to just spread the knowledge. And yeah,
Jupiter and Sun together are pretty much about fame and
as well,
popularism.
yes.
Jupiter is actually a royalty planet. That's the king, that's the god of all the gods. So obviously it represents Zeus
Oh
in the
yeah.
Greek mythology. Um, yeah, Jupiter has got that tendency with the sun to live life, you know, like larger than life type of personality. Because Jupiter is the biggest, the largest planet in the solar system. So we're talking about two large planets. Obviously, Sun is not a planet, but in astrology we classify it as a planet. So the two largest planets are joining together, and both could be about greed a little bit. Both could be about sizes and abundance. So definitely they have to learn how to, for instance, deal with money at the beginning of their lives, or whatever. You know, Jupiter is the magnifying glass. It magnifies the good things, and then it also magnifies the not so good things either. I think what could happen at the beginning of their lives of the native is that they cannot find the meaning to life, and therefore they might become like a gypsy or an adventurer. They might, you know, change jobs so often, or they might be traveling a lot. They move into a different country because somehow they constantly question their purpose of life. And it's really important to have that firm belief within themselves about what they have signed up to do in this lifetime. Um, Sun and Jupiter person could be very generous spirit as well. They might be all about encouraging others, supporting others. That's one of the reasons why they become such a good lawyer and solicitors or tree teachers, because it's all about sharing that knowledge. But Sun and Jupiter people always need variety. They always need experiences. They might want to experience different cultures, different way of thinkings. Um, Jupiter actually is very good at writing books, for instance, but somehow they need to be sharing their belief system. And it could even happen on TV, for instance. If there is actually a good Uranian energy to the Sun and Jupiter context, they could be TV presenters, somehow sharing news, for instance. Um, Jupiter is associated with your big ideas. Um, so One of the things which I usually mention to my students in regards to Jupiter is that setting the bar too high is a little bit of a danger with Jupiter because you can fall a lot. And obviously, to stand up from that could be a little bit of a challenge, to be frank.
Yes. So yeah, it,
Do you have anything else to,
um,
add?
not really. Yeah, Jupiter.
Let's have a look at our warrior.
Okay,
Let's have a look
Mars.
how Sun and Mars are getting along then.
Well, Mars is a very physical planet. So Sun and Mars, I would say that at the beginning with hard aspects, this could be like very aggressive energy as well, because Pluto is the higher octave of Mars, but Mars is also related to aggression. So sports is really a great thing for people with Sun Mars to do. And they're very assertive. So yeah, they're like the initiators. They they come to start things, and they put lots of energy into doing. Um, so yes, sports and anything related to physical energy, lots of physical energy, uh, being out, lots of moving, walking, any profession related to this would be great. um, so anything related to being the pioneer, just like an Aries would be, to to push through any hardship, competitions. Yeah, competition is really important for people with Sun Mars. I think it's the great motivator. They
Yeah.
need they need to compete, otherwise they wouldn't be involved. They wouldn't move their fingers, so to say, to do anything. So competition, yeah, it's really great motivator. What else about Mars? Here,
I
can you
think
add?
I think it's really important to learn that you have to be in the driving seat of your life. Um, it's not about allowing others to lead you. It's about leading others. And as you said, it's a very physical planet. I would say that this is like a DIY planet. So do it yourself, but also understanding that sometimes you might fall down, but that's okay. It's all about standing up and knowing that you fell down, but you were never defeated. Learning to know how to stand up and then start again. Also, I think that the Sun and the Mars natives need to learn how to speak up for something. And it could be someone, it could be themselves, or it could be a cause, but they need to be fighting for something. Again, we're talking about quite a pioneering aspect here, but fighting for what's important. And at the beginning of their lives, they might have had to fight for their survival, or they might have had to fight for their identity. They might
Okay.
have looked at these natives like they were underdogs.
Yes, they had
But
to
as you
fight.
said, it's all about competition. They've got that spirit within them, especially with the trines and the sextiles. They've got that spirit within them, and they want to achieve. The square, opposition, even conjunction, they need to realize the inner strength within them.
And they need to find an outlet for their anger as well, because Mars is anger, which we build up inside. So if no outlet is available, then yeah, um, it might come into a disease. So because Mars is very physical, as we said,
I
so it
think
could
your
be
microphone is falling
again.
down a little bit.
Okay, thank. So yeah, and if we don't find an outlet with Sun Mars for this physical energy, we need to express it. So it might become some illness. So it's very important because Mars is very physical. And also Sun Mars people are sometimes great risk takers, I would say, because
Yeah.
Mars rules risks, and they need to think clearly before they take risks. It's important because sometimes they can just go for it just for the doing, but they need to learn to do what's worth doing, not just doing. They need to do what's worth doing, not doing for doing. So yes.
I don't I don't remember whether I taught you, for instance, in the class you participated, but there is only one planet which cannot be combusted, and that's
Mars.
Mars.
Mm,
Obviously, we're talking about two hot and dry planets. So Mars is the planet like, okay, sun, give me even more. I can take it. I am
mm,
hot myself. And that's why, for instance, the Sun and the Mars conjunction in the chart could have anger management issues because Mars can take the heat. It doesn't feel the pressure from the king or the authority figure or the police or whoever it is.
mm,
But what happens with Mars being burned? Mars also represents logic in the chart, and actually, that logic can be a little bit um, um, blurred. So Mars doesn't lose its strength when it's combusted; it loses its
mm.
visions.
Visions.
So
Yes.
that could be a little bit of a challenge there.
Yes, and some Mars people, they can be really stubborn. It's like, yeah, they can move a train off their track. It's like, but sometimes it's not worth it. So
Yeah.
if they learn to channel their energy because they have lots of energy, this is a great gift for people with Sun Mars. They have so much energy, physical energy, so they can do so many things, but they just need to channel this energy into the right things. And yeah, Mars is very sincere. They like competition, but they don't like hidden competition. So they're also very compassionate, I think. So they can channel this energy into helping. Maybe can become they can become, how do we call this, when the people who save others in the mountains.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's a good profession for someone with Sun Mars because they will have channeled the physical energy, they will have the sports, and yeah, it will be for a good purpose,
Oh,
which is
yeah,
important
exactly.
for Mars.
Some type of lifeguards.
Yes, lifeguard. Yes, exactly. Even at the sea side or in the mountains, it doesn't matter. But because Mars is very, they relate to people very sincerely on a very physical, how do I say this, primary level. So they can really help people uh, in.
That's one of the reasons why Sun Mars people tend to become like police officers,
Yes,
working in the
fire.
army,
Yeah,
and so forth, because it's all about protecting others.
yes,
And
firemen.
a fireman,
Yes,
exactly. And
yes,
as we said, Sun Mars people need to be able to fight for something. They
yes,
might be the ones who are underdogs in life, or they might need to be fighting for the underdog.
yes.
Let's have a look at our beauty queen and the bridge builder.
All right.
So, how would you describe Sun and Venus contact?
Well, Sun and Venus, to tell you the truth, they can be really conceited sometimes because it's like all about beauty. This is when the aspect is hurt in a way. But yeah, the ego, the willpower, and the self image of the sun, it's like highlighted with Venus, which is appreciation, artistic, and Venus can be also very much related to food and indulgence as well. So having a sweet tooth
Yeah.
is often the case. So people with Sun Venus, they can be doing things related to fashion, to anything related to artistic um, visions, um, and emotional expression as well, because they're very lyrical. They can be singers as well. It depends on the sign, but Sun Venus aspect is very good for singers. Um, and yeah, they can be in the food industry as well, I think. Um, and Sun Venus people, they yeah, they need to find uh, the love within themselves and not look for it in the eyes of the other people. It's very important for these people to know their price, so self-worth, not price, but self-worth.
I agree. Yeah, vanity could be the part of the package, surely, with
Yes.
especially with Sun conjuncting the Venus. If it's a harder aspect like squares and opposition, definitely it's all about self-worth. Definitely becoming easygoing and discovering their strength basically. Because Venus wants things to go smoothly. Sun wants to be shining and and then eventually Venus becomes like a compromiser, becomes somehow too diplomatic, maybe sometimes very much of a people pleaser as well, and you completely forget about your goals, and then you end up serving others.
Yes.
So I think one thing Sun Venus people need to learn is not to necessarily agree to everything, at, especially if it's at the expense of their our true calling. Um, Also, Venus rules the sign of Libra, so it's all about connecting others. But it's not like with Mercury, it's more about connecting a group of people through some type of artistic stuff. So maybe we're gonna be going to a concert together, and then all of a sudden everyone becomes friends. Or I'm gonna be playing the guitar in the evening. So that's the reason why I called Venus as the bridge builder, because it still connects groups of people together, just in a different way than, for instance, Mercury would be doing that.
Yeah.
It's all about that attracting the same quality of people, people with the same interests.
Yes, and Venus, it's all about relationships actually. So it's like bringing the relationship among people to a point where we have harmony and peace, and everybody has their self-worth and beauty, and yeah, and it also um, rules for when we talk about Venus and Libra, it's about judging things. So it could be a very a good way for Sun Venus people could be also a solicitor, a lawyer, yeah, this profession as well, because they will be bringing harmony after all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Mm,
Anything to do with one-to-one consultations as well. I
yes.
mean, there are plenty of talent associated with Venus, but also what I recommend to the viewers is that if you've got a very tight Sun and Venus connection, also have a look at the second tightest one. And the reason being is because Sun never goes too far away from, Venus never goes too far away from the Sun. So she goes away from the king approximately about 47 degrees. Therefore, they could only be having a semi-square or a conjunction in the chart.
Mm,
And definitely, I would be looking at more like an outer planet combination there, and that would be giving you a clearer picture of what you have signed up to do in this lifetime. And
yes.
how do you feel about our messenger?
About Mercury. So yeah, what about Mercury? It's all about communication, internet, writing skills. So when it's because Mercury doesn't move away from the sun as well, just like Venus, it even stays closer. So the only aspect we can have it's a conjunction. So
Right.
yeah, if we have a conjunction with the sun, it depends on the degrees, of course, because it could be a very tight one and a wider one. But yeah, when we have when Mercury is ignored by the sun in a way, it's hidden by the sun, so it could be more difficult for the person to express their thoughts, to communicate, and yeah, communication could come later. Communication skills, I mean, and development could come later in life. So, yeah.
You
Um,
know, with Sun and Mercury, for some reason, always the cake comes to my mind. But actually, the cake should be coming to my mind with Sun and Venus. The reason being is because, um, you know, Mercury and Venus could be acting like a binding agent. You know, and then when you bake a cake, actually, it's all about putting the layers together with a little bit of a cream and jam, and then they're gonna stick together, and that's what the yeast does. It's gonna be raising things. Somehow, always the cake comes to my mind. But Mercury is the agent, the storyteller. So Sun and Mercury natives need to learn how to actually connect and unite people. It might be just by handing over a phone number to another. It might be just introducing them. Um, One thing which I have pretty much experienced with Sun and Mercury conjunction is that somehow they were not understood at the beginning of their lives. They were not listened to. And Mercury had to learn how to doubt things. And if a native if the native doubts a lot, actually what happens is that you're going to become the opinion
yes.
rather than knowing that you are born to learn from others and to respect the different opinions. In many cases, actually, you can hear from Sun Mercury people like saying, "This is who I am." um, they usually use the phrase of "on the other hand." And hand is ruled by Mercury. Because these phrases actually somehow want to reinforce that, okay, you accept me the way I am because this is how I got put together. But actually, Sun and Mercury people need to learn from others. They are very good researchers. They need to know that they've got a message to share, a message some kind to share with others. Um, Knowledge is hugely important for them. And, you know, I've also seen plenty of examples with Sun and Mercury people. The family were not talking about the important things in life. Somehow the important things became taboo.
Yeah, so they might become too scattered in their thoughts, goals, like wasting energy and time, um, from moving from topic to topic, not being able, not being aware what's important to choose from. So yeah, could be really confusing. Yeah,
Yes.
so no clarity of the mind, so to say. And yeah.
Well, there is another planet which we usually associate with the sun, and we are not going to be doing that today, and that would be the moon. Because the moon is a little bit more complex, and actually, I would be able to hold a 2 3 weeks webinar on that,
Oh yeah.
of the different moon phases and so forth. Because the moon phases are also be a little bit like challenging, and then they flavor the interpretation to the sun. However, I would love you, Tsveti, to talk about maybe an unexpected sun in the charts.
Yeah, that was my next thought, by the way. So I was thinking about an unexpected sun in the chart, and I think that it will actually um, the qualities of an unexpected sun will shine very purely. It's like a sun at a 0 degree, so to say. It's like the beginning of how a sign would appear. It would be so pure and so not touched by anything else. I think that a person with an unexpected sun, um, they will present the sign of the sun in its pure dignity. It will be it's a hard one though, because the sun doesn't have any support from any other planet, but still once they manage to keep this authority within themselves, to believe in it, they will actually have found their mission. So the sun, it's the true spirit, it's the spirit. So an unaspected sun will actually give access to this spirit directly without any interference. So I think that these people have a huge mission. And it's really very hard for them, but yes, it's really I haven't seen many people with with such a sun. Actually, it's a very rare thing
I am one
uh,
of
to
those.
meet. Oh,
Sun is
yes,
unexpected.
true. So it must have been hard, no support. So it might talk about a missing father. Um, if it has no aspects, no support, no father figure at all. Not only father, but a male figure, no male model. So this is good and bad at the same time, because you can imagine a child growing up without a father figure to set the rules, to see what authority is, and yeah, to just absorb all these qualities. But at the same time, it's like you're a blank um, a blank space, and you can create your own world, your own fate, using the pure spirit. You just need to learn to let it in and to feel it. It's within the person. So yeah, this is
I can only tell you my own example. I mean, Sun is in the sign of Aquarius in 12th house, unexpected. My son hardly has any minor aspect as well, actually. Um, and at the beginning of my life, especially in the first 25 years of my life, I really wanted to leave the Leo energies. So as I said, we tend to believe in um, our opposite sun sign, because that's the sign we can compensate with. And I really wanted to compensate by leadership. I didn't want to accept the fact that maybe I am alone, I have no help from family and so forth. But then as soon as I realized the power of being, let's say, single or being alone, or not even just single, because I believe everyone needs a partner, but realizing, the power of solitude, 12 hours, my life just started coming together. And then I didn't need to become a leader anymore. It wasn't about being in a management position, because now I'm the leader of my own life. Previously, I was leading others and I was being led. So I completely agree with you. I think an unexpected sun in your chart definitely shows hardship. Not even a missing father figure, but probably missing role models in your life. But once you really figure out your life path, that's going to be one of the most rewarding energies. And lastly, I would just mention, you might be having hard aspects to your son, but look at them as your supporter, giving you a little bit of a challenge, and then making you stand up and making your life to come together and then become a whole person.
yes, absolutely. And if I can also add one observation, and maybe it's especially true for people who don't have any aspects to their sun, but also for any other chart. So the house position of the sun will show the life sphere where we would like to shine the most, and where we should put our efforts to work so we can develop the sun. So this is the position of the sun, the house position of the sun, and where we will see the results of how we are doing. This will be actually the sun, the house cusp where we have Leo. So the results will be in the Leo house, and we have to work for this. So this is like a check how we're doing. We check the house of Leo, and we'll see where we are with the sun.
Yeah.
It's yeah. So yeah,
Well, thank
this
you
is
very
it.
much, Tsveti, for
Thank
joining me
you. It
today.
was a great pleasure,
I
really.
think it was a very great talk, and I really hope that everyone um, is able to take something away from today's talk. At the end of the day, if you really work towards your sun sign and you try to follow your mission, your heart should be a hell lot easier. And why would you want to work against it? So please show us some love. Press like if you like the video. If there is any question on any other topic you would like us to discuss in the near future, then please use the chat box below. And also don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well, so you could be notified when an exciting video is on the way. So thank you very much, everyone, and have a blessed evening. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Bye bye.